to talk about how to compare your law school exam answer to a model or sample answer. First, I want to talk about why this is so important. If you simply answer a law school exam question, you write the best answer that you can, you're not going to know if you missed something necessarily if you don't have something to compare it to. Now, sometimes you don't, because sometimes your professor will publish exams and they won't have a model or sample answer, in which case you are kind of left to your own devices, or some students kind of get around this by meeting with a study group and comparing what other people wrote, so that's one way to get around it. But if that's the case, then what you should be doing is going online and finding other practice exams that have model or sample answers so that you can make sure that you're more or less on the mark when you answer exam questions. So what you'll see when you start to compare your answer to another student answer or to a model answer that your professor makes is you're not going to say everything the exact same way in the exact same order. You might not spot all the issues, and that's okay. Oftentimes, everyone's so rushed for time on law school exams, you can still get a high score without discussing every single potential issue. And if you're doing practice exams that, for example, you found online, then other professors might teach things in slightly different ways, so students are going to spot different issues or make different arguments than you might make, and that's okay too. What you want to do though is still make sure that you have your answer, go through the student or sample answer, and ask yourself, did I spot the issues? Did I state the rules? Did I apply the law correctly? And did I conclude correctly? Okay, so we have a checklist basically that you can go through and say, did I spot all the issues? If not, did I miss important ones, or were they kind of minor? If I missed important issues, what facts should have led me to discuss this issue? Basically, what facts was I missing? And how can I avoid this in the future? Maybe you have to read the fact pattern a little more closely, for example. Okay, so those are the kinds of questions you can ask about issue spotting. Then you get to the R in Iraq and you state, did I state the rules correctly? Did I know the elements of law? If not, then you probably have to know your outline a little bit better. Did I clearly discuss laws that weren't relevant? Some students will have whole long rule paragraphs that have nothing to do with anything. If you do that, then I would make a note of it to yourself. It might have been something that you do out of a nervous habit, but either way, you don't want to do that on exam day. For analysis, did I make arguments on behalf of each party? Did I analyze the problem as in-depth as the model answer or student answer did? Did I spend too much time analyzing an issue that should obviously turn out in someone's favor? For example, in a murder fact pattern, did I spend 2 pages talking about how the person died when the fact pattern just says that they died? You don't have to put that much analysis into it then. Did I know the law enough to fully analyze the questions, or do I need to learn the law better? Oftentimes when someone's analysis is lacking, it's because they don't know the elements of law, so they don't really have anything to apply to the fact pattern. So that might be an issue. And conclusion. Was my conclusion too vague? Was it too strongly worded? Did I say something like, oh, the court will decide? That's too vague. Did I say the plaintiff will definitely win? That's too strongly worded. Was my conclusion arguably correct? And remember, for major issues, oftentimes there's not just one right conclusion. Some other questions to ask: did I spend too much time restating facts or conclusions? You might notice as a nervous habit, you start your answer by restating the whole fact pattern, which is not necessary. And you can catch yourself doing this before exam day so that you don't do it on exam day. Did I answer the exam in the appropriate amount of time? In the beginning, don't time yourself, but you're going to want to start incorporating timed exams into your practice. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? How can I capitalize on my strengths? How can I improve my weaknesses? If you go through the sample or model answer and you compare it to your answer every time you do a practice question, you will see yourself improving greatly, even just by the day, with practice questions. This is why it's so important to practice exams, and this is why it's so important to compare your answer to a model or sample answer. It truly makes the difference between an A student and a B student. So hopefully this gives you some tips on how to use model or sample answers when you practice law school exams.